How's it going, guys? Today I'm going to show you what it's like to drive the all-new Mclaren 750S from a first-person point of view. At the heart of the 750 is a 4-liter twin-turbocharged V8, making 740 horsepower and 590 pound-feet of torque. That's 30 horsepower more than the 720S, but the real performance increase comes from the fact that it's got a 15% shorter final drive ratio. The shorter gears result in relentless acceleration. 0 to 60 happens in under 2.7 seconds, and 0 to 124 miles an hour happens in just 7.2. 30% of the components on the 750S are new. As you can see, we've got a newly redesigned front fascia. We've also got the fender vents off of the 765 LT to allow turbulent airflow to escape. We've got new lighter weight wheels. All told, it's 66 pounds lighter than the 720S. In the back, we've got the rear wing from the 765 LT that's 20% larger, but weighs less because it's made from carbon fiber. We've also got an exhaust inspired by the Mclaren P1 exhaust that sounds absolutely fantastic and is surrounded by that really cool mesh. You can get upgraded track performance brakes that take 7 months to make and are 60% stronger and have 4 times the thermal conductivity of standard carbon ceramic brakes. This thing is absolutely unbelievable. Yes, it looks quite similar to a 720S, but the driving experience is on an entirely different level. This particular 750S is a Spider. The top drops in 11 seconds, but how cool is this secret compartment you get with the Spider? Click this button here, and that opens up, which normally the top would go into, but when the top is up, it gives you a secret storage compartment right there for some extra goodies. Click this button here, and it goes down. Speaking of storage, it's got an unbelievably large front trunk. Get a load of this. Go ahead and open up that beautiful hood to reveal an incredibly spacious trunk. We've got a fire extinguisher and a power outlet, so you could actually use this on weekend trips. To hop inside the 750S, we've got a hidden door handle on the back side of the door here. Raise those beautiful butterfly doors up into the sky to reveal a very familiar yet slightly revised interior. Let's go ahead and hop inside and talk about some of the brilliant differences. Inside the familiar yet gorgeous interior, we've got these beautiful metal paddles for the 7-speed dual clutch transmission. Now in the 720S, we had a folding display that was pretty cool, and I do miss it, but this has a very cool feature. Let's say you want to move the steering wheel, right? You want to push it down or push it up. The entire binnacle and instrument cluster moves with the steering wheel itself so that the wheel never blocks key information like RPM and speed. I absolutely love that. Now, another cool feature is normally you have the active panel where you would control the driving modes over here, but they've moved it up here so you don't have to take your hands off the steering wheel to change the driving modes. On this side, we've got the handling driving modes to select from comfort, sport, and track. And on this side, we've got the powertrain driving modes to go from comfort, sport, and track. Now we've got different instrument cluster layouts for the different modes. Right now we're in track mode. If we go to sport mode, it'll be slightly different. And then if we go into comfort mode, it'll be different yet again. The suspension change between comfort and track is enormous in this car. It's really impressive. How insane is this? If you click ESC off, you can activate variable drift control, whereby you can go on the display and select the slip angle that your McLaren will reach before traction control intervenes. How crazy is that? Clicking the arrow button activates that rear wing. We've got a Kiwi button, which is new. This is a preset driving mode, which in this case, it activates sport and track. The Kiwi is a nod to Bruce McLaren being born in New Zealand. Of course, we also have a launch control button. Then we've got the buttons to put down the roof, and my favorite button, this little rear window. So check this out. We can actually put just that window down, but keep the top up so you can hear that exhaust better than before. And another amazing feature, finally, we've got a dedicated front lift button in the McLaren. This is really cool. This is actually a top view schematic of the McLaren headquarters for the home button. And we even have ambient lighting options in a supercar. How cool is that? We can scroll between a ton of different ambient light colors. All right, let's take it out on the road and drive it. The shorter gear ratios in the 750S make the acceleration absolutely relentless. The 30 extra horsepower and the 66-pound weight drop is welcomed, but that shorter final drive results in insane acceleration, and the throttle response feels like it's got a hybrid powertrain. The initial acceleration, just from the teeniest bit of throttle input, really does feel like there's some sort of electric assist. And to have that level of responsiveness in not only not a hybrid car, but also a forced induction car is truly a work of art. This car is so good at so many different things. Right now, we're in track mode, which stiffens up the suspension significantly. The steering is tighter and quicker. The feedback and response is better than the 720 by a significant margin. Not quite as intense and scary as the 765 LT, but it still brings elements of that driving experience that are very much welcomed. And then at the same time, when you put it into comfort mode for all of the adjustments, both the powertrain and the handling, it becomes such a relaxed driving experience that you could genuinely daily drive this supercar with hypercar levels of performance. Now, because there is such an enormous difference between track mode and comfort mode, this is such a two-faced supercar that doesn't feel like it has any compromises. I mean, generally, you sacrifice comfort for performance and performance for comfort, but this is able to do both at the same time in an unbelievable fashion. It's a really cool thing that you can switch between the driving modes without taking your hands off the wheel. So to have these rocker panels at the top of the wheel and being able to switch back into comfort mode easily is a really, really nice feature. I also love the fact that they finally have a preset driving mode button where you can click this kiwi and then set us back into a full-fledged track performance mode. Originally, I thought, oh man, I kind of missed that rotating display. I thought that was one of the coolest parts of the 720S, but I very much welcome the changes. The difference between track mode and comfort mode is one of the most extreme changes I've ever seen in any car. Usually, you're giving up comfort in the name of performance, or you're giving up performance in the name of comfort. But with the drive mode selectors, conveniently located in a place where you don't have to take your hands off the steering wheel, and I can just plop it back into comfort mode, it's unbelievable how smooth this car is around town and how exciting it is at the limit on the track or on back roads. Wow, this thing is fast. Holy moly. Now, one of my favorite parts of the 750S Spider is this button right down here. We're gonna go ahead and drop that rear window. I'm not sure if it's gonna make a difference on camera, but you can hear the exhaust so much better now with that rear window dropped. I mean, it sounds like the exhaust is built into the back of your skull. The 720S was already a good sounding car, but this new sports exhaust, and particularly with that window dropped, the character of the exhaust is unbelievable. It screams at wide open throttle, and then when you just get on the gas a little bit and let off, sometimes it lets out these little crackles at an unexpected cadence that puts a smile on your face every single time. But man, this thing is so light and nimble, 425 pounds lighter than its nearest competitor. That is a recipe for success, especially as cars are getting heavier and heavier. Everyone's going hybrid. Having an internal combustion engine powered supercar with no electronic assist and basically no weight at all, sub 3,000 pounds dry, even though the top can go down, is just out of this world awesome. The traction control is also really impressive. We are in suboptimal conditions right now. The roads are a bit damp, and the traction control management is doing such a good job at keeping this car composed. Obviously not pushing super hard because, well, what's the point in the rain? But it is very, very compliant and predictable and doesn't feel like it's going to kill you and lose control, even though the surface is damp, which for a 740 horsepower rear wheel drive car is truly almost the work of magic. Man, McLaren has built such a phenomenal driving car with the 750S, seriously. Now let's go ahead and put it into comfort mode and experience what it would be like just driving it around town. We're gonna go ahead and put that rear window up. It gets much quieter. We're gonna take it out of manual mode. And all of a sudden, it just glides along. It's nice and quiet in here. That was a big bump. It just ate that bump like it was a luxury sedan. It really is unbelievably impressive how good this car is at just commuting around, and then at the same time how fun it is when you're really on it. The acceleration's brutal, it sounds great, it feels more exciting at the limit than the 720S did, perfectly sandwiched in between the comfortable and refined 720 and the brutal, violent 765 LT. Honestly, I wasn't sure what to expect when I first saw the 750S. Was it really going to be a radical improvement from the 720? And it honestly is. I'm pretty blown away by the 750. The infotainment screen is fantastic. The graphics work really well. I love that it has ambient lighting. I love that the engine actually has LEDs in it to illuminate it at nighttime. We, of course, have this really cool electrochromic roof that can change opacity depending upon if it's too bright or not. And the fact that the steering wheel moves with the instrument cluster is really cool. And just from a practicality standpoint, owning a Mclaren 600 LT, I'm using my front lift all the time, and having to use the stock in multiple different times to get it to raise, having the dedicated button is such a welcomed addition. Well guys, I'm blown away by the 750S. I hope you enjoyed today's video. Like always, please browse the channel and subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next video.